How to use telepathy to make them miss you instantly. My friends, there is no distance between minds. The separation you believe exists is nothing more than an illusion of the senses. In the unseen realm, where thought travels faster than light, there is no here and there. There is only now. To cause another to miss you, you must first understand that you and they are not two, but one consciousness wearing different garments. The moment you truly feel this unity, you will speak to them without words, touch them without hands, and be with them without presence. There is no distance between minds because consciousness is not bound by the limitations of space and time. The physical senses convince us that we are separated from one another by miles, oceans, or even continents, yet this is only the perception of the outer world. Beneath this layer of appearances, there exists a single field of awareness in which all minds are connected. You and the one you think about do not inhabit separate islands of thought. You exist in the same vast ocean of consciousness, and within that ocean, any impression you hold within can be instantly felt by another. When you send out a thought charged with feeling, it does not travel in the way a letter or a message does, crossing distances slowly. Instead, it is received in the same moment it is conceived, for in the realm of mind there is no far and near. When you close your eyes and picture someone, you are not recalling a memory stored in your brain. You are entering into direct contact with them in the invisible dimension. This is why a sudden thought of someone can prompt them to think of you or even to reach out unexpectedly. What appears to be chance is simply the movement of shared consciousness at work. The only barrier that exists is the belief that you are apart, and that belief weakens the signal you project. When you dissolve the idea of separation and accept that you and they are joined in the mind's unseen network, your inner communication becomes natural and effortless. This is not about straining or forcing a connection. It is about recognizing that the connection is already present. The moment you form a vivid inner picture of them and clothe it in the emotions you wish them to feel, you are not starting a process. You are participating in a reality that already exists. It is like speaking in a room without walls. The sound travels freely in every direction. Your thought does not need to travel across a great expanse to reach them, because in the dimension where thought is born, you are both in the same place. Physical distance can deceive the senses, but it cannot alter the nature of mind. Whether the person is in another city or another country, the mind that perceives them is the same mind in which they perceive you. This is why two people can have the same dream on the same night, or why a deep bond can cause one to sense when the other is in distress without a single word being spoken. It is also why, when you hold a person lovingly in your imagination, they may begin to feel that pull toward you without understanding why. The why is hidden from the conscious mind, but the deeper self knows, for it is part of the same fabric. When you act from this understanding, you do not treat your thoughts as private, locked away inside your skull. You recognize that the mind is not in the brain. Rather, the brain is in the mind, and that mind is infinite. Every impression you dwell upon, especially those infused with strong feeling, ripples through the entire field. And because the one you think of is not outside of that field, they cannot help but receive the impulse you create. The question then is not whether they will sense it, but how clearly you can project it without doubt, without interruption, and without letting the senses persuade you that the connection is absent. Imagine them already missing you by stepping into the state where that reality is true, not in some far-off future, but here and now within the theater of your mind. Do not wait for outer circumstances to give you permission to feel it. Create it inwardly as a present fact. The mind accepts what is impressed upon it, and when you dwell in the assumption that they already miss you, your inner world begins to radiate that truth into the unseen. You are not asking them to miss you, nor are you wondering if they ever will. You are bypassing all questions and entering directly into the end result. This is the difference between hoping and knowing, between wishing and possessing. The moment you claim that they miss you and allow that claim to saturate your emotions, you are setting the only cause required for the corresponding effect to appear in their consciousness. To do this effectively, you must quiet the noise of the senses and the doubts of logic. Your outer eyes may tell you that nothing has changed, that they are far away, distracted, or even indifferent, but these reports are only shadows cast by the old state of being. You are here to replace that state with a new one, and the only place you can do that is within. So close your eyes and bring them vividly before you. See the small details, the look in their eyes, the subtle movement of their mouth, the way they might hold themselves when longing for you. Do not force the scene. Allow it to form naturally, as if you are observing it already happening. The more real it feels, the more convincingly it will be impressed upon the subconscious mind. It is not enough to simply think, "They miss me." Thinking in words alone keeps the idea on the surface. You must live the feeling. Ask yourself, if they were missing me right now, how would I know? What would I see in their face? What tone would be in their voice? How would I sense their energy reaching out to me? Let the answers shape the scene until you are no longer pretending. You are participating in an inner event that is as alive to you as any memory. Your emotional state is the bridge that links your inner image to the shared field of mind. If you feel lack or anxiety, you are sending a mixed signal that carries the vibration of wanting rather than having. But when you embody the calm certainty of someone who is already missed, your thought is clothed with the magnetic power of fulfillment. It is this fulfillment that the other person will unconsciously register, often without knowing why. They will feel an absence, a pull, a gentle H that leads their thoughts toward you, because the image you hold has already taken root in the deeper level of their mind. There is an immediacy to this process when it is done without resistance. The moment you shift inwardly into the state of being missed, you have already set in motion the only cause needed for its reflection to appear. Outer changes may unfold in ways that seem ordinary or even coincidental, but they are nothing more than the visible side of the invisible work you have done. By returning often to this state and keeping it alive with feeling, you are continually renewing the connection, keeping the thread taut between you and them, until it becomes natural for them to think of you with longing and desire, as if no other thought could occupy their mind more fully. Feeling gives thought its power, because thought alone is like a seed left unplanted, holding potential but never sprouting into form. The mind can generate countless ideas in the course of a day, most of which pass without leaving any trace in reality, because they are not impressed upon the deeper layers of consciousness. It is feeling that presses a thought into the subconscious, making it vivid, alive, and magnetic. Without feeling, a thought is a whisper in the wind. With feeling, it becomes a command that the unseen responds to with unwavering fidelity. This is why one stray idea you barely notice has no effect. Yet another idea, when charged with intense emotion, can change the entire direction of your life. When you want someone to miss you, you cannot simply think, "I wish they would think of me," and expect it to create an impact. That is merely holding a concept in the surface mind. The power comes when you take that concept and breathe life into it by experiencing the emotions that would be present if it were already true. If they were missing you right now, what would that feel like to you? How would you sense it in your own body and mind? That sensation is the fuel that drives the thought deep into the field of shared consciousness, where it is instantly received. Feeling is not something you try to create artificially by forcing yourself into a heightened state. It is something you invite by stepping fully into the inner scene as though it were real. When the mind believes it is actually experiencing something, the corresponding feelings arise naturally. Imagine them searching for your presence, glancing at their phone, feeling a hollow space in their day where you should be. Let yourself feel the warmth of being desired, the quiet satisfaction of knowing you are in their thoughts. As you allow those emotions to fill you, the thought becomes more than an idea. It becomes an energetic imprint, a living message sent directly to their awareness. This process works because the subconscious mind communicates in the language of feeling, not in the language of abstract words. You may tell yourself something 1,000 times, but if it is not accompanied by emotion, the subconscious treats it as background noise. Yet one moment of deeply felt certainty can impress it so powerfully that the outer world must rearrange itself to match. In this way, feeling is the bridge between imagination and manifestation, between what you hold inside and what is reflected back to you. When you are in the correct state, you will notice that your feelings and thoughts match perfectly. There is no gap between imagining and believing, no sense of effort or strain. You are simply dwelling in a reality that feels so present that it becomes impossible to doubt. In that state, every thought you send is like a wave that reaches its destination instantly because it is carried on the current of genuine emotion. The person you focus on will not receive a dry, lifeless thought. They will feel an energy, a presence, a subtle but undeniable pull that stirs something deep within them. This is why people respond more strongly to the energy you carry than to the words you say. Inwardly, they are not hearing sentences from you. They are feeling impressions. If you wish them to miss you, you must send the impression that you are already missed, and that impression must be alive with the emotional truth of it. The stronger and purer that feeling, the more irresistibly it will penetrate their awareness, creating in them the very state you have embodied within yourself. See, hear, and sense their longing by creating an inner reality so vivid that it becomes more convincing to you than the world outside your senses. The mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined when the imagined scene is felt deeply enough. This is why you can recall a memory and feel the same emotions you felt when it happened, or picture a fearful outcome and experience anxiety as if it were already unfolding. You can use this same principle deliberately by constructing an inner picture of the person you desire, already in the state of missing you. The key is not simply to view them from a distance in your imagination, but to enter the scene until you are interacting with them, perceiving their emotions through your own senses. Begin by seeing them clearly. Let their image form naturally in your mind's eye. How they are standing or sitting, the expression on their face, the subtle movements of their hands or eyes. Notice every detail without forcing it, allowing the scene to shape itself in a way that feels authentic. Do they glance down and then look away, as if lost in thought? Do they check their phone repeatedly? Do they hold something that reminds them of you? Every visual detail you imagine adds depth and reality to the scene, making it more likely to be impressed upon your subconscious and communicated to theirs. Once the image is alive before you, shift to hearing them. What tone would their voice carry if they were speaking about you to someone else, saying how much they wish you were there? Can you hear them sigh softly in the quiet or call your name in their mind? Perhaps you hear the absence of your voice in their environment, the way silence feels heavier because you are not present. These imagined sounds may be faint at first, but as you allow them to emerge naturally, they anchor the scene even more firmly in your awareness. Then move to sensing their longing beyond sight and sound. Imagine what it feels like to be near them in that state. There is an energy that longing carries, a subtle pull, an emotional weight, a tension between desire and absence. Let yourself sense it as though it were a physical sensation in the air between you. Feel their energy reaching toward you, almost brushing against you like a hand that cannot quite touch. Sense the warmth of their presence even in their absence, the way someone's thoughts of you can seem to fill a room despite the distance. By engaging all of your senses in this way, you are no longer merely thinking about them missing you. You are experiencing it in real time within your imagination. This creates an emotional richness that cannot be achieved by visualizing alone. The subconscious responds most powerfully to multisensory impressions because they mimic the full experience of reality. And when the subconscious accepts something as real, it begins to act as though it is real, sending out signals and impressions to the shared field of mind that others cannot help but pick up. It is not important whether the scene you create is exactly what they are doing in the physical world at that moment. What matters is that the scene feels true to you, because the feeling of truth is the stamp that marks an idea for expression. When you see, hear, and sense their longing in such depth that it stirs your own emotions, you create a living connection that exists beyond words and distance. This connection does not need to be consciously acknowledged by them for it to influence them. It is received on a deeper level where thought and feeling are one. Broadcast silently through emotion by understanding that the most powerful communication does not come through words or outward action, but through the energy you radiate from within. Every emotional state you inhabit sends out an unspoken signal into the shared field of consciousness. This signal is not bound by time, space, or physical barriers. It travels instantly because it does not move through ordinary channels. It is already present in the invisible connection between all minds. When you hold the emotion of being longed for, desired, or missed, you are in effect sending that exact vibration to the person you are thinking of, and they will feel it in a way they cannot quite explain. This silent broadcast happens continuously, whether you are aware of it or not. You are always transmitting something, and others are always receiving it. Most people send out a mixture of emotions, conflicting signals born from doubt, fear, and fleeting desire, which makes their influence weak and inconsistent. But when you deliberately choose the emotion you wish to broadcast and maintain it steadily, your message becomes clear and potent. The key is to embody the emotional state as if it is your natural condition, not as something you are trying to force. If you wish someone to miss you, you must step into the emotional reality where their longing for you already exists. Imagine how you would feel if you could sense them thinking about you at this very moment. Feel the quiet satisfaction, the warmth, the subtle awareness of connection. Let that emotional tone fill your body, your breath, your mind. Do not think of it as an act of sending something out. Rather, think of it as living in a frequency that they cannot help but tune into. Just as a radio picks up a station when it is set to the same wavelength, they will register your emotional broadcast when you hold it consistently. The silent transmission works because emotion speaks directly to the subconscious mind. Words are filtered, questioned, and often rejected by the rational mind, but emotion bypasses that filter and goes straight to the deeper level where impressions take root. When your feeling is strong and genuine, it carries an unmistakable quality that can be sensed even without physical contact. This is why you sometimes think of a person just before they call you, or why you can walk into a room and instantly feel the emotional atmosphere without anyone saying a word. The same principle applies here. You are deliberately shaping the emotional atmosphere between yourself and another person, regardless of physical location. To strengthen your silent broadcast, remove any emotions that contradict the state you are trying to transmit. If you feel anxious about whether they will respond or fearful they may not care, you are adding static to your signal. Instead, settle fully into the feeling that they already miss you. This is not about pretending, it is about choosing to dwell in the version of reality you wish to experience. When your inner world is saturated with that chosen feeling, it becomes impossible for them not to sense it, because you are no longer wavering between conflicting states. You are sending one pure, steady message. You will know your broadcast is aligned when you feel no urgency for an immediate reaction. In that state, you are no longer attempting to push the emotion toward them. You are resting in it, knowing it is already present in the shared space between you. From this position of calm certainty, your emotional broadcast becomes magnetic. It draws their attention without force, stirs their thoughts without effort, and awakens in them a longing that feels as though it arose from within their own heart. Longing in them is your inner work reflected, because every outer reaction you experience from another person is a mirror of the state you have sustained within yourself. The world and the people in it do not operate as separate forces acting upon you. They are participants in the play directed by your inner assumptions, feelings, and beliefs. When someone begins to miss you, when they feel the pull of your absence or the ache of wanting to be near you, it is not an isolated event born out of chance. It is the natural echo of the reality you have already lived within your imagination. The longing they feel is not created in them independently. It is awakened in response to the vibration you have been holding. Your mind is the projector and the world is the screen. If you dwell in the emotional certainty that you are desired, valued, and thought of with yearning, that certainty will inevitably be expressed through the behavior and feelings of others toward you. If you, on the other hand, sustain an inner atmosphere of doubt, insecurity, or neglect, the people in your world will unconsciously reflect that back, often in ways that confirm your fears. This is not because they have chosen to, but because the shared field of consciousness responds faithfully to the signals impressed upon it. When you see longing in another, recognize that it has its roots in your decision to embody a state where such longing already existed. This is why the work is always internal first. You do not attempt to change their thoughts directly. Instead, you adjust the reality you are living in within yourself. You craft a version of you and them in which their feelings of missing you are as real and unquestionable as the ground beneath your feet. You keep your focus there until it becomes second nature, until you carry yourself as someone who is deeply and naturally missed, and then the outer reflection cannot help but appear. This reflection is not limited to romantic connections. It applies to all relationships, family, friends, even acquaintances. The principle remains the same. The feeling you radiate consistently becomes the template from which others form their responses. If you choose to live in the awareness that your presence is cherished and your absence is felt, you will begin to witness that reality in the words, actions, and subtle energy of those around you. They may not even understand why they suddenly think of you more often, feel drawn to reach out, or sense that something is incomplete without you. The cause is invisible to them, but it is perfectly clear to you because you have planted it in the only place it ever needed to be, your inner world. This process works with precision because the subconscious mind accepts as true whatever you feel to be real, regardless of what the senses report in the moment. Once the subconscious is impressed with the reality of being missed, it communicates that truth to the collective field, where it is picked up by the subconscious of the other person. They experience it as their own emotion, unaware that it originated in your deliberate inner work. This is why some connections feel so magnetic and unexplainable, because the exchange is taking place below the surface of conscious awareness. When you understand that longing in another is only the mirror of what you have sustained within yourself, you stop looking outward for proof before deciding how to feel. You begin with the feeling, you hold it, you live in it as though it were the only truth, and the world adjusts itself accordingly. In this way, you reclaim the power that was always yours, the power to create in others the very responses you have chosen to first create within.